There's a bipartisan effort in the U.S. Senate to strip President Biden of his war powers. Democratic Senators Kaine and Republican Senator Young have introduced a bill that would repeal decades-old authorizations for the use of military force in the Middle East. The legislation comes after President Biden decided to launch airstrikes in Syria last week without first seeking congressional approval. It also comes just hours after an Iraqi military base housing U.S. troops and civilian contractors was hit by rockets from Iranian-backed militias. Let's bring in now congressional candidate for Washington's 3rd District, Joe Kent. Joe, great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me on.
It was great to meet you at CPAC as well and learn a little bit about your story. You are running for Congress as well in Washington's 3rd District there against one of the members of Congress who voted to impeach President Trump. But let's talk about this bill and what it would do. It would repeal the 1991 and 2002 authorizations that cleared the way for prolonged military conflicts in Iraq. How crucial is this to ultimately ending these seemingly never-ending wars in the Middle East?
This is very critical, and I really strongly support the efforts by Senators Kaine and Young to bring this up right now. This is long overdue. Our legislative branch has been mostly AWOL on authorizing wars and continuing to fund wars. That's Congress's responsibility, that they have really just kicked the can down the road to the executive branch, starting with President Bush, and then with President Obama. We saw some pushback against President Trump when he attempted to get our troops out. That was the first really a bit of pushback we've seen from Congress in nearly 2 decades of continual combat. So I'm glad that we're finally making it a priority now. There's definitely some partisan reasons for that. The Democrats appear to be very happy to repackage Trump's success and his desire to end our endless wars as their own idea, but that's fine. I'll take it right now. We just need to get our troops out of there as soon as possible and then return the power to declare war and then have oversight of the wars to the Congress, to the legislative branch.
Now, you served in the Special Forces for what, 20 years, I think, and several combat deployments. And you also have, a very personal story about Syria and your fiance. Please share that with us.
Yes, I served for over 20 years in the special operations community and then a little bit after in the intelligence community. My late wife, Shannon Kent, was killed in Syria. She's also a special operator. She was killed fighting ISIS in 2019, right after President Trump attempted to get our troops out of Syria, right after the territorial caliphate was smashed and President Trump had met the military objective of putting down ISIS's ability to hold ground that would allow them to conduct external attacks. So she was killed at a very pivotal time in the Trump administration. Shortly thereafter, we saw what happened. The establishment, the permanent ruling class, essentially the uniparty that's been behind these endless wars, came out in force against President Trump. Secretary Mattis resigned. The mainstream media got behind that narrative that somehow we needed to stay deeply entrenched in these wars, and really went about turning every tool of the media and the government against President Trump's ability to get our troops out. So this is near and dear to me, and this is something that has to be taken care of. So again, I really commend Senators Young and Kaine and their efforts.
We are deeply sorry for your loss, and I also apologize for misspeaking, calling your fiance and not your wife. But that story, that's what also is driving you to run. It's not just the fact that Jamie Butler Herrera voted for impeachment, right? This is why you want to be a member of Congress?
Absolutely. I think for far too long we've had our government ran by one class. Sometimes they wear different hats, Republican, Democrat, but the career politicians need to go, and they need to go as soon as possible. President Trump really broke through the barriers of having normal Americans who have worked hard and been successful in their civilian lives push through and take a lead role in our government. So I want to follow in those footsteps and restore the voices of the American people in my district right here in Washington's 3rd Congressional District back to Washington, D.C. to return competent leadership that's grounded in the grassroots back to D.C.
Well, it is a beautiful part of the country, Washington's 3rd District. Joe, wish you luck in your congressional race against Jamie Butler Herrera out there in Washington. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for having me on.